Malachi awoke with a jump from another restless sleep and looked around to make sure he was still alive. Sure enough, he was still in the prison cell on the back of the giant vehicle, just the same as when he fell asleep. Malachi felt a stabbing pain in his shoulder from the way he was sleeping on the hard, cold cell floor. He got up and did a few stretches, then quickly sat back down when the people in the masks outside of the cell pointed their guns at him. Malachi had a feeling everyone else in the cell was feeling hopeless and afraid, especially the children, so Malachi decided to play a game with the children. "All right, kids, if any of you ever played Tube Hoopers?" asked Malachi in a cheerful tone.
No. Can you teach us, Malachi?"
One of the younger children stuttered. "Listen, my friends, there is no need to dwell on what might happen in the future, when it's more healthy to focus on something happy in the moment," Malachi said soothingly. "Why don't I help you little ones take your minds off your troubles with a game of Tube Hoopers? If we start now, I reckon you'd all be experts by the time the sun goes down, and then we can all go to sleep, and in the morning we can do it all again." Malachi spent the next 2 hours teaching the children to play Tube Hoopers, a game where you have a certain amount of small, short tubes laying with their holes to the sides placed in the center of a group, and each player gets a stick with another curved wire around the outside of the first stick that the players use to hoop as many of the tubes on as possible. Whoever has the most tubes once all of the tubes have been hooped is the winner. Malachi was playing a match with the children, who had grown quite fond of the game, when a man about 2 years younger than Malachi walked over where they were playing and put a hand on Malachi's shoulder. "Oh, hello, Birch. Excuse me for just a moment, my little friends. I'll be right back," said Malachi, standing up and turning to face the other man. The man's name was Birch, and he was Malachi's partner and best friend. "It's so nice of you to help these kids get their minds off of these dark times, Malachi," said Birch. "But please don't overwork yourself. I would hate to see you in any more pain than you already need to be feeling right now. I care about you, you know." "I promise I won't overdo it, okay?" Malachi replied. "I feel the same way about you. Do you need anything while I'm up?" "No, not right now, but thanks," replied Birch, giving Malachi a tight squeeze. "Ouch! Careful, my chest is still trying to recover, so try to show your affection in the gentlest way you can for now," winced Malachi. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just not used to having you to be careful around you. You're usually so strong and can handle anything," replied Birch. "But that part of you being able to handle everything hasn't changed. You are the sweetest, most caring and helpful person I know, and I know you can get us all through this. All of that being said, no pressure. I just felt like you needed some encouragement." "Man, you really know how to cheer me up, Birch," said Malachi. "Thank you for being here for me." The pair decided to go with a simple one-armed hug this time so as to avoid any further injury, and then Malachi went back to playing Tube Hoopers with the children. Night fell over time, and the children had all fallen asleep. Malachi and the other adults in the cage gathered around in a circle in the middle of the cage so that the sleeping guards would not hear them converse. "So, I think I've got an idea as to what's going on and why these people kidnapped us after destroying our town," whispered Malachi to the others. "Since they haven't killed any of us yet, I'd be willing to bet that they need us to be somewhere. And the place that they need us is where they're taking us in this cage." "That's what I was thinking also," replied a young woman by the name of Cupits. "I have a feeling that the things that are in store for us when we get to our destination will not be pretty, so I've devised an escape plan," whispered Malachi. "Here's what we're going to do." Suddenly, the group heard the one sound they had all hoped they'd never hear again. The sound of an 8-leg, a machine created by the people in masks designed as ruthless killing machines, being released from the giant transport robot walking out somewhere in the distance. The guards around the cage sprang up from their slumbers. "The 8-legs are being released!" shouted one of the guards. "That means that the transport robot detected a threat! We need to get over there now!" The guards quickly all piled into the large vehicle carrying the cage and sped towards the direction at which they had heard the 8-legs being launched. The prisoners, being tossed around in the cage due to the speed at which they were traveling, started to panic. "If the guards keep driving this fast, we'll crash!" shouted Cupits. "Don't worry, this is just what we need," replied Malachi. If we can manage to break this cage when we crash, we can all escape while the guards are distracted with the threat.
Good plan, but how do we make sure that no one gets hurt in the crash? Asked Cupid.
That's gonna be the hard part, said Malachi. We can't, so we'll just have to work with what happens once we crash.
Okay, it's our only shot at escaping, so we'll just have to roll with it, confirmed Cupid.
All right, everyone, get to the left side of the cage and wait for my signal to lean on the side, shouted Malachi to the other prisoners. 1, 2, 3! The prisoners all leaned to the left side with all of their might, and sure enough, the cage fell off the guard's vehicle and the bars on the left side snapped in two when they hit the ground. Is everyone all right? Shouted Malachi. We're all okay, Birch shouted back.
Okay, let's make a run in the opposite direction of the guards, Cupid yelled.
Suddenly, a giant robotic foot crashed down about 30 feet away from the group.
The transport bot!
Screamed an older prisoner. Everyone, run away from the bot, it doesn't matter where! Screamed Malachi. If it sees any of us, we're all dead! These 8-legs things will take us all out! The group all ran in random directions away from the transport bot, but one child was having trouble getting up from the ground after the crash. Malachi quickly dashed back and picked up the child, then started running in the direction of Birch. The transport bot caught a glimpse of Birch running through the forest and launched an 8-leg in his direction. Birch, run! Malachi heard the 8-leg being launched with that blood-freezing activation sound and ran even faster to get to Birch. Birch had heard the sound as well, and immediately knew that the transport bot had seen him. He quickly hid behind a tree, hoping the 8-leg would not see him. Malachi saw the child's mother running not too far away from them, and shouted to them, I have your child! He's going to run to you, so slow down!
Wait, what? Cried the child. I can't run over there, the robot will see me! Please tell Mommy to run over here and save me!
As Malachi watched the young boy curl up on the ground, shaking, eyes brimming with tears, something snapped inside of him. These people were willing to kill innocent people, let alone children, for a reason they didn't even mention. They had put the lives of millions of people all over No Such Land, people with loved ones, with families, on the line for what? The sheer fun of it? Malachi felt his sense of mercy completely disintegrate. He grabbed the child, tucked him under his shoulder, and ran like the wind to where the boy's mother knelt, waiting for her son, arms open wide and joyous yet frightened tears running down her cheeks. As Malachi blazed towards the group, the transport bot spotted him and launched another 8-leg towards him and the child. The 8-leg flew through the air, uncurled, and prepared to land on Malachi for the finishing blow. Malachi stopped, turned to face the 8-leg falling towards him, and stood his ground. The 8-leg reached for Malachi, inches away from landing on him, and Malachi lifted his fist into the air and crushed the 8-leg's head into pieces with one devastating punch. The 8-leg crashed and skidded behind Malachi, unable to recover fast enough from the destructive, unpredicted blow. Malachi took this chance and raced towards the group waiting for him. Malachi let the young boy down from under his shoulder, and the boy and his mother shared a relieved embrace.
Thank you, Malachi. I am forever in your debt, sighed the mother.
Malachi said nothing, a towering, merciless shadow of his former self. He ran off to where he had seen Birch run. Birch was still hiding behind the tree, afraid to breathe, for if he made any sudden movements, he would be caught and dead. The 8-leg was still trying to find him in all of the trees, but after about 5 minutes, what seemed like hours at the time, the 8-leg started to head back up to the transport bot. Birch tried to get out of his hiding spot, but he tripped on a root peeking out from under the tree and fell with a thud. The 8-leg immediately turned back and raced towards Birch, unable to get up from the fall yet. Just as Birch was about to be caught, he saw a figure race through the forest and slam into the 8-leg, launching it across the area and into a tree. The figure was Malachi, but Birch almost didn't recognize him, for he had a look of complete and absolute rage burning brightly in his eyes. Get out of here! I can take this stupid little block of trash. The others are running through the forest over to the right of the transport bot. You can still catch up, said Malachi, his voice echoing with power.
But what about you? I won't just leave you here, you'll be killed! Birch responded, tears brimming in his eyes.
Get the hell out of here now! Roared Malachi. I'm going to lose control of the sliver of conscience I have left, and if you stay here, I will hurt you!
Birch knew Malachi was telling the truth, so Birch looked back up at Malachi one last time, then ran off in the direction of the rest of the group.
All right, you little monster, said Malachi. You want another piece?
The 8-leg stood up and charged at Malachi, who grabbed the 8-leg, spun it around on its head, and slammed it into the ground. The 8-leg tried to recover, but Malachi didn't let go. He raised the 8-leg up again, and crushed it into the ground again and again, each time with a mighty roar. The 8-leg was almost completely destroyed, and it didn't try to fight Malachi anymore, for it knew that he was going to keep crushing it into the ground until there was nothing left but oily scraps of it. Malachi raised the remains of the 8-leg above him one last time, let out a terrifying scream, and ripped the 8-leg in two. The 8-leg's two halves dropped to the ground with a clatter. Malachi stood amongst all of the carnage he had inflicted upon the 8-leg without saying or doing anything else for a moment. Then, all of a sudden, the 8-leg he had punched earlier came into view, charging towards him at great speed.
I guess everyone here wants to die, said Malachi.
He charged toward the 8-leg with a terrible battle cry, and landed on it, pinning the 8-leg down. Malachi then quickly ripped the 8-leg's head completely off and crushed it in his palm like an egg. He then tore open the 8-leg's computer hatch and took the wires that used to connect to the brain chip in its head and attached them to his head instead.
I'm taking over you, you monster, said Malachi. But I'm not going to be like all of those hypocritical fools you see in books or movies that use the very things they hate to enact vengeance. No, you're going to be my fear factor. I will wear you on my back so that the enemy will see me coming, and know that their precious machines cannot stop the fury of a broken man.
Feeling a giant surge of power, Malachi dropped to the ground, writhing in pain. Just then, more people with the masks arrived where Malachi had massacred their machines.
What in God's name happened here?
One of the two masked people asked. It looks like something destroyed some 8-legs over here, which is quite weird seeing as 8-legs were designed to be extremely overpowered, said the second masked person.
Wait, look! That must be the person!
Shouted the first masked person. They looked over and saw Malachi still struggling on the ground.
Hey, you! You're the one who destroyed our 8-legs, aren't you? Prepare to die! Shouted the second masked person.
Malachi slowly stood up, finally getting used to the 8-leg attached to his back now. Malachi answered,
You all are monsters for building these things and stealing the lives of so many people for no reason, and you're going to pay for your crimes, right now!
No reason? We are trying to reform for the good of the world. We are reforming the world as a paradise where no one feels pain and no one suffers, replied the second masked person.
No one suffers? Can't you see that you've already made millions of people suffer for your paradise when you claim that no one will ever feel pain or suffer, but you've already made so many people die from this cause that now you're just being hypocritical, shouted Malachi.
Do you really think you can defeat us? We are angels! How do you think you would hold out against an army of angels? Yelled the first masked person. Malachi sighed, straightened his posture, and replied, I have a question for you. Do you know why angels can't die?
Why?
Said the first masked person. Malachi responded in a voice full of vengeance.
Because they're already dead.
The 8-leg turned on from mounted on Malachi's back with its menacing sounds. The masked people aimed their guns at Malachi, and a battle that would soon be heard all over No Such Land began.